Alright, in this section of notes, we are going to be looking at x and y intercepts. So, we've already talked about y-intercepts a little bit. We should be familiar with those. We know we said that a y-intercept is, sorry, there, let me fix that. Intercept is the point where the line crosses the y-axis. And our x-intercept, likewise, is going to be the point where the line crosses the x-axis. So if I mark all of these here, let me get the highlighter here. So when we're talking about y-intercepts, I want to highlight these in yellow. We're talking about these places right here where we cross that y-axis. But if we're talking about our x-intercepts, we're talking about where we hit this line, the x-axis, so that would be these points right here. And so there's something I want you to notice about these points. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to look at the coordinates of each one of these points. So like right here, the coordinates of this point, I'm going to have to guess a little bit here. It looks like it's maybe like 7, I'm sorry, doing that incorrectly. It looks like it's about 7.5 or so on that, on the y-axis. So your x-coordinate is 0, and you'd have 7.5 as your y-coordinate, or something close to that. I'm estimating here. For this green line right here, it looks like we're just going to go ahead and say close to -6 right there. So the x-coordinate is 0, the y-coordinate is -6. For our red line right here, we've got this point, it looks like we're at about -7. So the coordinates of that point would be 0, -7. And so what I'm wanting you to see here for these is that all of our x-coordinates are 0 whenever we're on this y-axis. You might remember that the equation of the y-axis is x equals 0. Our vertical lines are x equals a number. But if x equals 0, that gives you your y-intercept. So let's write this down. To find a y-intercept, plug in 0 for x. Okay, so if we plug in 0 for x, it will give us the y-intercept. We also can solve the equation for y and use y equals mx plus b. But in some cases, this will be easier to do. Now let's look at all of our x-intercepts. So if we look at all of our x-intercepts, if I look at this blue line right here, I'm crossing this x-axis. It looks like it's about -6. So the x-coordinate here is -6. The y-coordinate is 0. At this point right here, looks like I'm about -3, so I would have -3, 0. And you might be able to guess what's going to happen here. For this last point, it would be at 9, 0. And if we look at all of our y-coordinates here, if we look at all the y-coordinates, let's go blue. We got 0, 0, 0 for all of our y-coordinates. So whenever we have an x-intercept, our y is 0. So it's sort of backwards from the way that you would think that it might be. So let's add this in a different color. To find an x-intercept we want to plug in 0 for y. So to find a y-intercept, plug in 0 for x. To find an x-intercept, you plug in 0 for y. And so let's look at some examples that we're going to see here. So our first example, we are going to find the x and y intercept of y equals 2x plus 4. And I want you to find, of course, the y-intercept here and the x-intercept. So that's what we're looking for. And so, knowing what we already know, we can find the y-intercept of this really quickly because this is already in y equals mx plus b form. So right here, that's my y-intercept. It's 4. I can either write it as y equals 4, or you're probably going to see it written as a point, which is 0, 4. That's your y coordinates 4, so you make sure you put the 0 first and then 4. But for a y-intercept, you could also do it this way. Plug in 0 for x. We could have also done it this way. Y equals 2 times 0 plus 4. And, of course, that would give us y equals 2 times 0 is just 0. 0 plus 4 is 4. So it would give us the same answer either way. It's easiest for this one just to tell it that it's 4. For the x-intercept, remember for our x-intercept, let me use a different color for the x-intercept. So for the x-intercept, we're going to plug in 0 for y. And so if we do that, we've got y equals 2x plus 4 is our equation. So we're going to replace that y right there with a 0 equals 2x plus 4. And then we want to solve for that x. We want to figure out what the x is. So I would have to subtract my 4 here. And so negative 4 would equal 2x. And then I could divide both sides by 2. So I would get negative 2 equals my x. And so negative 2 is my x-intercept here. Whenever I write that as a point, I would put negative 2 is the x-coordinate, and then 0 is the y. Right? So let's try another one. Same thing, we'll find an x and y intercepts. So example 2, let's do a different type of equation. Let's do 2x minus 3y equals 6 here. And I want to know the, right there. Yeah. I want to know the x-intercept, and I also want to know the y-intercept here. So for this particular problem, I could solve this equation for y, and that would give me my y-intercept. However, let's do what we did on the last problem. Let's plug in our zeros. So if I'm looking for, I'm going to do the x-intercept first this time. If I'm looking for the x-intercept, I'm going to plug in 0 for y. Okay, so that means in 2x minus 3y equals 6, I'm going to have 2x minus 3. I'm going to replace that y with 0, and that's going to equal 6. And so 3 times 0 is just 0. This basically goes away, and we're left with 2x equals 6. Really simple equation to solve here. We just divide both sides by 2, so x equals 3. There's our x-intercept. When we write that as a coordinate, we're going to have 3, 0. For our y-intercept, we're going to plug in 0 for x. So in 2x minus 3y equals 6. I'm replacing this x right here with a 0. So 2 times 0 minus 3y is going to equal 6. So 2 times 0, that's just 0. That's going to go away. That leaves us with negative 3y equals 6. And we can just divide both sides by -3 here. And so y equals -2. And so there's our y-intercept. So for our y-intercept, our x was 0, our y is -2. Let's try another one. Example 3. Let's do x minus 6y equals 4. Okay? So, again, we could solve this equation for y to find our y-intercept, but if we're looking both for the x-intercept and the y-intercept, and it's not already solved for y equals, it's probably easiest for us just to plug in our numbers. So remember, for x-intercept, that means y equals 0. So this y right here, we're going to replace it with 0. So x minus 6 times 0 equals 4. Well, 6 times 0 is just 0, and we end up with x equals 4. So our coordinates here are going to be 4, 0. Our x coordinate is 4, our y coordinate is 0. For our y-intercept, we're going to plug in x equals 0. So right here for our x, we're going to put 0. So 0 minus 6y equals 4. And, of course, the 0 doesn't really do anything. We've got -6y equals 4. We're going to solve this by dividing both sides by -6. Don't panic. This does not divide evenly here. We could reduce it to -2/3. We also could do a decimal, but let's stick with the fraction here. So we've got a fraction. That's fine. So our y-intercept would be 0, -2/3. You may see some fractional answers on some of these. Let's do one more. Example 4. Let's do -3x plus y equals 8. And we're looking for both the x-intercept and the y-intercept. And so this particular problem, when I'm thinking of my y-intercept here, it is really easy. It's really easy to solve this one for y. You could just add that 3x to both sides. There, so y equals 3x plus 8. So since that is so easy, I might want to do that one this way. So that would give me 0, 8 as my y-intercept. Or it's very simple as well to plug in 0 for x. -3 times 0 plus y equals 8, which is going to give you y equals 8. Either one is pretty quick to do there. For your x-intercept, you want to say that y equals 0. So that's going to be -3x plus 0 equals 8, which of course will give you just -3x equals 8. And so you can divide both sides by -3 to solve that equation. And this will not reduce, so you would just have to leave your answer as -8/3. So you would say -8/3, 0 here. All right, we are going to do one more problem here. And so for example 5, let's do this one. 2x minus 17y equals 0. And so we are looking for the x-intercept and the y-intercept. And whenever we're looking for the x-intercept, we're going to say y equals 0. So you'll have 2x minus 17 times 0 equals 0. So of course 17 times 0 is just 0, so that'll go away. You'll have 2x equals 0. If you divide both sides by 2 here, x equals 0. So 0 is an answer. It's okay. It's not no solution. That means you have an x-intercept at 0, 0. Now, if you think about this, where is 0, 0 at? It's right here on the graph. So if you have an x-intercept at 0, 0, your y-intercept has to also be at 0, 0. So you could go ahead and put your answer here, or you could work out the problem. You could let x equal 0, so 2 times 0 minus 17y equals 0. This will go away. Negative 17y will equal 0. Divide by negative 17. And if you do it that way, you also get y equals 0. Now, whenever you look at iExcel for this, you're going to have an iExcel assignment to go along with this. When you're finding the x-intercept or the y-intercept, it does not want you to type in the entire coordinate, but just the x-coordinate. So, for example, here, for this x-intercept, if I plugged in 0 for y here, I would get 8x equals 9. This stuff would go away. And then if I divide both sides by 8, I would get 9/8. So you would just type in 9 over 8. You would not do the entire point there. And then you will continue like that. So complete your iExcel. If you have any trouble, let me know.